Hey, what up, guys? ShiShi here, checking in Sunday night. I think I gotta look at this camera right here. Okay, it's gonna be a little strange, but I'm gonna do my best. I just got back from my second silent meditation retreat this past weekend, and I wanted to just get some thoughts down and share my experience with you guys. And first, just share like what it is, what the retreat entails, and then talk a little bit about my experience and one really valuable key insight that I took away this time around. So basically, Vipassanā is a school of meditation that the literal word Vipassana in Sanskrit, which is the ancient Hindi language, means seeing things as they clearly are, or seeing things as they actually are. And so it's called insight meditation. And basically what it is you sit and you just try to be as aware as you can about all the different sensations in your body on the physical level. So that's basically the gist of it. And the program that I do, or the organization that I've done these retreats at, is an organization called Dhamma.org. I'll actually leave a link in the description, so in case anybody's curious or wants to check it out afterwards, they can. But when you first go to your first retreat, you have to do a 10-day retreat. And then after you do a 10-day retreat, you can do 3-day retreats, you can do 2-day retreats. That kind of like unlocks it. But your first one has to be 10 days. So my first retreat was last summer, 10 days, and it was tough. It was very challenging, but also very valuable and productive. And it's funny because I was going into this retreat thinking that it was going to be such a like cakewalk because I'd already done the 10-day, and I was like, it's just 3 days, like whatever. I thought it was just gonna be like a quick weekend like thing. And man, was I wrong. I think also it was challenging because I had been kind of lazy about my meditation, like leading up to this retreat. I hadn't been so diligently doing it every day. But an interesting thing happens on these retreats because you're, for the first time, sometimes ever for a lot of people, you're totally alone with your thoughts. You're not allowed to talk to anyone. They take away your phone. You're not able to get on the internet or check your email. You have no access to the outside world whatsoever. You're not even supposed to like make eye contact with people. So it's really, really can be like triggering because all these like emotions, if you have any issues or like skeletons in your closet that you've been repressing, you can rest assured that they will come up in some way, shape, or form. And it didn't so much happen to me the first time I did it, but this time around, the first couple of days, basically days 1 and 2 out of 3, were really, really challenging, like emotionally for me. A lot of issues came up. I find myself having a lot of thoughts about the situations in the past that either things that I hadn't done or situations that I hadn't taken advantage of or things that I wish I had done differently, and just feeling like this like hopeless regret about it, and just feeling so helpless that it had already passed, and like what if that had happened, and what if this had been different. And it's funny, like you hear all these like self-help things are always like strong-minded people like don't live in the past, and I totally subscribe to that too. Like I don't think that's a healthy way of like thinking, but it's just funny because like when you're sitting there with nothing to distract your thoughts, your mind will just go to like some dark places sometimes, and the only thing that you have really to focus on sometimes when you're going through that is the meditation. So it's really it's training you to just be able to focus on one thing at a time. And that's where it becomes a really valuable skill in life. Because when you're going through those kinds of like patterns in life, instead of, like drinking to distract yourself or like watching like fucking TV or whatever, if you can just adopt a more like meditative way of being, that's a more constructive way of like taking your attention away from like those unconstructive or unhealthy thoughts. And the other thing that Vipassana really helps with, and this was my big key takeaway this time around, was not only does it train you to focus, obviously, like on your body, but it also, the second piece of it is training your, they call it equanimity. So like your ability to feel different sensations on the physical, mental, or emotional level and remain balanced and objective and unreactive to them. So the really practical application for this is, for me, when I was sitting there, when you're sitting in the lotus position for like hours on end, you're like, my back starts to kill me. It just really starts to hurt. Like I have some back issues anyway, just from producing music and like sitting at a computer all day, but it really like comes to light then. And you just have to fucking sit there and deal with it. Like there's no distraction. So that really kind of forces you to accept things as they are, and just eventually realize that whether or not you respond to something by labeling it as pain, or at an emotional level by labeling it as anxiety or fear or anger, is actually ultimately like a choice. And what really like hits that idea home, or drives that idea home, is when you start to realize that all of these sensations, all these moods and physical sensations and thoughts and emotions that you might feel are so temporary, like inherently, it's just kind of the way of the world. It's just the nature of the universe. Nothing lasts forever. So everything is inherently transient, everything. And so once you kind of experience that for yourself, because it's one thing to intellectually like get that, like you can intellectually understand that like we're all like subatomic vibrating particles, but it's like, okay, but how does that actually help me? But when you actually sit there and meditate and experience it for yourself, then that once you have that realization, you can start to unpack the ways that you have been reacting to things in the past, and realize that you don't necessarily need to react to those sensations anymore in the same ways that have been hurting you, because those sensations aren't permanent, And so like once you realize that something isn't permanent, it loses a lot of its power. It loses a lot of its power over you. And so like for me, like one example is like sometimes I get really anxious about things, and meditation has helped me really realize in those times that when I'm feeling that anxiety in the past where it would have overtaken me, now I can just kind of use my meditation to objectively sit in it and realize that, okay, it's just like I'm feeling anxious for whatever reason. I don't need to like psychoanalyze it or like read too much into it, but it's just going to rise and pass like a wave, like everything else. The same way that like really good feelings rise and pass. Like you don't just feel good and then just always feel good. So, and that was the big takeaway I took away from this particular retreat. So yeah, I'll just leave you guys with that. And I'm feeling physically very tired, but mentally pretty recharged and just ready to go and keep working. And I really just want to work my ass off and just make as good of music as I can and just work as hard as I can to get it out. Not only to you guys who are like, if you're watching this, you're fucking awesome, because this is that just means that you're like really down with like what I'm trying to do, which I really appreciate from the bottom of my heart. So I'm obviously trying to provide value for you guys, but I'm also trying to increase that number of people that are like interested in what I have to say as an artist and as a person. So I'm really excited to just do that. And I feel good, and I'm excited to just not be a little bitch about things like when they don't go my way. I mean, that's essentially what this form of meditation kind of helps you to get better at. So thank you guys for watching, and if you have any comments about like maybe your experiences with meditation or other sorts of spiritual practices, I'd love to hear about them. And if you have any questions about Vipassana specifically, like I said, I'll leave a link to the organization in the description box, but feel free to post your questions and I'll be checking in on this channel. So, Till next time, guys. anicca.